Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome back to Podcastage. This is the Miketek MK300. It costs around $200, and full disclosure, I bought it with my own money. If you want to check it out, I'll throw some links in the description down below. All of my recording settings will be listed in the doobly-doo as well as the description. Now let's talk about what comes in the box. What a shocker, you get the microphone, a microphone pouch, a microphone clip with a 5/8 to 3/8 inch adapter, a shock mount with another 5/8 to 3/8 inch adapter, and a tiny bit of documentation. Then as far as the build quality, this microphone feels great. It has a nice weight to it, an all-metal body, and a metal mesh grill with very minor give to it. On the front, you have a polar pattern selector switch. On the back, you have two switches, a 100 Hz at 12 dB per octave high pass, and a -10 dB pad. On the bottom, you have the XLR port, and whether you care or not, the mic is made in China. I'm not going to read the specs to you, but I will have them up on screen so you could look at the graphs, and I'll also have them listed in the description in case you want to pause and dive a little bit deeper and get a closer look or anything. Now let's hear how the different polar patterns sound. So first up, this is the Cardioid pattern about 6 inches from my mouth, and here's how it's sounding. Now I'm on the figure 8 pattern at the same distance, same gain setting. I will have to boost this a bit more, but this is the figure 8 pattern, and here's how it sounds. And now I'm on the omnidirectional pattern, same distance, same gain setting. This is also quieter than the Cardioid pattern. This is the omnidirectional pattern, and here is how it sounds. Now on Cardioid, moving around to 90 degrees, this is the off-axis rejection and coloration. Continuing around to 180 degrees, this is the rear of the mic. Continuing around to the second 90-degree angle, and then rotating and ending at the front of the mic. Now let's see how this thing handles plosives. Please provide pizza pronto. Please provide pizza pronto. Please provide pizza pronto, pals. Now I am right on top of the microphone to exaggerate the proximity effect, and here's how it sounds. Now about 6 inches off of the microphone, and here's the sound. Next, about 1 foot away from the mic, about 2 feet away from the microphone, and here is how it sounds about 4 feet away from the microphone. Now I'm typing on a keyboard with Gatoron blue switches to see how much of my voice versus how much of the keyboard it picks up. And for the gamers, now these are the SAD W and spacebar keys. Now here's how the MK300 sounds about 6 inches from my mouth in a well-treated room. And now here is how the MK300 sounds about 6 inches away from my mouth in a completely untreated room. Now I want to hear how effective the mic and the shock mount are at rejecting shocks, so I'll start by tapping on my desk to see if it can reject that. And then I'll tap on the boom arm. I also want to be thorough and annoying, so I'm going to tap on the microphone to see if there are any kind of resonant frequencies. Again, I am right on top of the microphone to exaggerate the proximity effect, and the high pass filter is off. Now I have engaged the high pass filter, which is 12 dB per octave at 100 Hz. I have disengaged the high pass filter again, and here is how it's sounding. And now I have engaged the high pass filter once again for a second sample. Now let's see how the -10 dB pad is engaged, so I will just engage that. There you go. Let me disengage that right back to normal. Again, let's engage that -10 dB. Keep talking and bring it back at 0 dB. Now let's compare the MK300 to a bunch of other microphones because context is helpful. Starting on the Miktek 6 inches off, Cardioid pattern, no pad, no filters, and here's how it sounds. First up, we're on the AT2020, 6 inches off, gain at 12 o'clock on the AT2020, 24-bit 48 kilohertz. This mic costs about $100. Let's go back to the Miktek and do a bunch more. Back again on the Miktek. For all these mics, I'm running into the Focsurite AT2020, gain at 12 o'clock. Let's go to the next one. Next, I'm on the SE Electronics X1a, 6 inches off, gain at 12 o'clock, no pad and no filters engaged. This microphone also costs about $100, and here's how it sounds. Let's do a whole bunch more. Back on the Miketek 300 for another palette cleanser. Nothing has changed. Here's how it sounds. Let's move on. Now I'm on the AKG P220, 6 inches off, no pad, no filters, gain at 12 o'clock. This microphone now costs about $160, and here is how AKG's offering sounds compared to the Miketek. Alright, we're back on the MK300 again. Here is how it sounds. That should be enough talking. Let's go to the next one. Next up, I'm on the Neat King Bee version 2, 6 inches off, gain at 12 o'clock. This microphone costs about $170, so a little bit less expensive than the Miketek. That is enough of a sample. Let's go back to it and do some more comparisons. Here is your auditory Q-tip on the MK300 to clear out your ears. Let's hear whatever the next microphone is. Now I'm on the Earthworks SR117, 6 inches off, gain at 12 o'clock. This costs about $200, and I'm including this to function as a point of reference because this is a relatively neutral mic, so that will allow us to hear the color of the Miketek quite a bit more clearly. Let's go back to it and do some more. Okay, this is the Miketek MK300 again. This is how it sounds. It should be no surprise. Let's do some more. Next, I'm on the Rode NT1 5th Gen, 6 inches off, gain at 12 o'clock, no shocker there. This costs about $250, and let's go back to the 300 and do a couple more comps. We are already nearing the end. This is your penultimate palette cleanser on the MK300. Let's go to the second to last mic. Next, I'm on the Lewitt LCT440 Pure, 6 inches off, gain at 12 o'clock. This microphone costs about $270, and here is how this sounds compared to the Miketek. Let's go back and do one more comparison. And here is your final palette cleanser on the MK300, so let's jump to the last microphone. Right now I'm on the Neumann U87 Ai, 6 inches off, gain at 12 o'clock. Cardioid polar pattern, no pad, no filters engaged. This is not a fair comparison. This microphone costs $3,700, so more than 15 times the cost of the 300. But here is how it sounds. This is a control. Let's go to a very extended and long music test. So much to do with all these mics. I have got to test them all, but I know that I don't have the time. Don't worry, we'll find the time because who needs a life when you could just talk into microphones all day. Isn't that sad? Don't worry about it. Let's move on. Alright, at $200, I think the sound of this microphone is pretty good, but the feature set that it's offering is really nice at this budget. And first up, as far as pros, the build quality of this microphone feels extremely durable. On that note, there was absolutely no resonance on this thing, so it handles that kind of shock very well. At this price point, you're also getting a high pass filter and a pad, which is great. And then you also have multiple polar patterns, which is a pro if you need them. Not for everybody, but if you need them. And then as far as cons, the microphone did a pretty bad job at wind and plosive rejection. Please provide pizza pronto. The pad also had an extremely loud click when you engaged it. I also found the microphone to sound a touch on the sibilant side, so my S's sounded a little bit sharp and piercing, and this is more of an FYI than a con, but the microphone has such a deep bass extension that this mic is going to pick up any kind of rumble going on in your environment, whether it be an AC unit nearby or whether it be road noise. And now, what are my overall thoughts and opinions of the MK300? As far as the overall sound, I would classify this as a bright and clear microphone. You get plenty of bass extension, a nice and neutral midsection, and then quite a big focus in the treble and air region. On the electric guitar, I think it can work quite well, especially to get more aggressive tones, but I found myself wanting to engage the high pass filter because of the bass, and here is an example of why I do that. On the acoustic guitar, I think it works well if you're going for a really bright and articulate sound because that is what you're getting with a nice amount of support in the low end. For singing, I think that's my favorite application for this microphone because you do get support, a clear midsection, and then this really bright and shimmery and exciting top end, which I think works really well. And finally, for spoken word, you get a good bass, a good midsection, but I think the upper frequency boost may be a bit much. I found it to be a touch sibilant and a little bit piercing on certain S's, so when I was using it for my podcast, I was reaching pretty heavily and I felt it was necessary to use a de-esser. And to wrap up, would I recommend the Miketek MK300? Kind of. First off, as far as yes, I think the build quality on this is fantastic. I think it works well enough on every single sound source that I tried it on. It's just a touch sibilant on vocals. It also has a pad and a high pass filter, which are really nice features at this price point. And then the biggest selling point here is it has multiple polar patterns. So if you need those features, the polar patterns, the high pass filter, and the pad, and you like the sound of this mic at this price point, then I say go for it. But then as far as why I wouldn't recommend this mic, if you don't need the multiple polar patterns, I would say look elsewhere because in my opinion, even in this comparison, there were mics around this price point and sometimes even less that had similar features and I think offered a similar tone, if not a better tone. It is going to come down to personal taste, but if you don't need those multiple polar patterns, I think you may be able to save some money and get a better sounding mic.